Preparing to live stream. Give us maybe 30 seconds.
And in the absence of Grace, since Grace wasn't here today, I thought that our student reps could lead the meeting since we got a pretty short.
Yeah. Motion to have the student rep. Yeah, all in favor of the students leading the meeting?
That's okay. First on the agenda is the landing. Oh, meeting is called to order. Yep. Okay. First on the agenda is the land acknowledgement, which we are Taryn is reading the land acknowledgement.
On behalf of County Office Community Arts High School, we would like to take this moment to acknowledge that the high school is located within the ancestral homelands of the Tacoma, Tolowa, Dini, Cow Creek, Umpqua, Confederated Tribes of the Siletz Indians, and the Confederated Tribes of the Grand Ronde, the peoples who have lived here since time immemorial. These tribes were displaced during rapid American colonization, the gold rush and armed conflict between 1851 and 1856, which led to epidemics, starvation, the burning of villages, and displacement. In 1853, the first of several treaties were signed between the American federal government, these tribes, and others. These treaties ceded most of their homelands to the United States, and in return, they were guaranteed a permanent homeland. At the end of the Rogue River Wars in 1856, these tribes and many other tribes from Western Oregon were removed to the Siletz Reservation and the Grand Ronde Reservation. Many died during the forced march known as Oregon's Trail of Tears, and their homelands were lost. Today, despite these and other atrocities committed against them, Native communities remain committed to leaving the world better than they found it. As we recognize and honor these lands where we live and learn, we express support for the resilience and strength that all Indigenous people have shown worldwide.
Woo. Next, additions to the agenda or approved meeting agenda.
I have one addition. I would like to try to organize a meeting for a one-time personnel policy meeting, and I would like to have that under the financial reports. I can talk about that under statement of activity for November. So to discuss forming a one-time committee meeting. If that's acceptable.
Yes.
Sounds good to me. Okay. I motion to approve last month's agenda.
I second that motion to approve the agenda as amended. All in favor?
Aye. Woo! Approve, yeah, okay.
Do we have any public comments?
Oh wait, a minute from the meeting.
Oh. My bad. I motion to approve the minutes from the December 1st meeting. Is it?
I
Yeah,
second. Kelly seconds.
All in favor?
Aye.
Public comments?
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good.
I have not received any public comments.
We haven't ever.
One time Drake was here, or I'm not sorry, I'm looking at you. Boy was here and told us we were doing a great job.
Woo!
That's awesome.
Okay, reports. So we'll start off with the financial report, which, right.
Hi friends. I'll share this for you guys to look at. If you could take one and pass it down, please. Take one and pass it down, please. Maybe I'll come down here and sit by Sally. So I can be on screen. Thank you all for joining me for this our finance report. First, I direct you to the back side on the bottom. This is our statement, our balances. And it says there as of 11, oh, that's the wrong one, sorry. As of 12/31, checking account, we had 151,701 cents, savings 6,693.70, and total was 158,395.12 cents. That's our bank balance, basically $158,000 in the bank. We're in pretty good shape. Pretty good financial shape. However, that said, the reason I first mentioned this other one is I do want to point out a comparison to last month. This is actually about $30,000 less than what we had reported last month at our board. We kind of been sort of pretty stable, and then all of a sudden there's been this $30,000 reduction. So I just wanted to draw your attention to that to make sure we're all clear. And some of the reason for that, because of timing, this month there's 2 rent checks. And so our rent is $2,500 a month, so that $5,000 in 1 month, whereas there was 0 of that in the previous. So that is part of that 30,000 extra reduction that we have. Another thing is our yearly payment for Project U Plus, which is nearly $17,000 came through that month. We got a check for that much. The good news is we should be reimbursed by that eventually. But because we haven't been reimbursed yet, we've made the payment, we haven't been reimbursed. Again, now we're kind of at a cut. We also had 2 insurance payments during that time. We've started our services with German Home, providing emotional support for our students, and that was $34,000 there. And so there's been, and we will be reimbursed for that as well. So again, another big cost that we paid out this month. We have not been reimbursed yet for, but I just wanted to do diligence, make sure you're aware. In case none of you are looking at last month's balance and this month's balance, I just want you to see that there is that big change. And those are some of the main reasons, many of which we will be reimbursed for. So I don't think it's cause for alarm, but it's something to notice. So that's the statement of our balances. Statement of activity. If you look at what I passed out, this is the statement of activity for November. So there is a bit of a lag to give us time to do the paperwork. December just ended. No chance that we're going to get all the December paperwork and figure all that out by January 5th. But we're on it. We've got November. You can see here, as always, one of our biggest expenses is salaries. And at the top, you can see what our income for the month was. Our state gross expenses, what we received from Rivers. That's the 60,229. You can scroll down here and see this is basically everything we spent money on in November. Guidance services, staff development, school admin, food prep. You can see our food purchases for the month was about $2,300. Basically, it's a lot of the same. One thing I will say, in comparison to the previous month that I mentioned, the previous month we actually spent $19,000 more than we took in for the month, which is also okay because of reimbursements, grants, and different things like that. They come in on a different schedule. But this month, you'll notice we actually only spent $8,000 more than we took in. So that's kind of a step up. I do welcome any questions about any of those costs. If you want to take a minute or so to look at it. Yeah, of course.
So when you talk about insurance, is that land insurance? Is that health insurance? What is insurance?
The cost specifically that I was talking about was our what's the
Heart insurance.
Heart insurance. What's the? It's not
Nonprofit insurance fund. Yeah, so it's building
It's a liability
liability building, not health, not HR related insurance, but insurance for the schools.
Right. Thanks.
The reimbursement for Project Youth Plus is out for a grant.
Yeah, it will be this grant money. And I will point out on the first page down here, you can see this does mention our health insurance cost. So you can find that, for the month of November, $3,314.55. That is specifically just health. There's also worker compensation costs and other things, unemployment insurance. Any other questions? Comments, concerns, concerns?
Community and culture?
Actually, I did have one thing I'd like to add to the agenda. I mentioned at the beginning of the year that we sort of changed our process for payroll for our community teachers. Last year it was a lump sum per semester, and then we pay out a portion of that. So it's like, oh, it's $500 a semester for one class or something. And then every month you get your portion. And then this year we moved to a straight hourly system, and so that way if someone is unable to be here or can only do 75% of the time, they get 75% of their hourly. So it is an hourly process. Now, some of our personnel policies haven't fully caught up to that, I feel. And so what I would like to do is to have a one-time personnel policy committee. I would really ideally like that to include some students, include some board members, include some community teachers, include at least one or two teacher leaders, to just meet, compare the personnel policies to what is actually happening and see if we can hand out some suggestions, and then bring it to our next meeting. And so that's my personnel policy. Just I see it as a one personnel policy committee. I see it as a one-time thing to be able to come around some of those ad hoc committee. And so if there's anyone here interested, I would have to take down some names, Jay.
I feel like I should probably stay as a community teacher.
Not necessarily. Sorry.
Okay.
Okay, great. All right, I've got with me, that's 6 of us. I can do that on this. Did you mention 2?
Yeah.
Okay, so, all right. So I will send out an email separate to all of us and see if we can have that sometime to potentially meet. That's it, unless anyone has questions for me. Your financial report.
Thank you, Ryan.
Yay.
Thank you.
Enrollment phase 5. So we actually got another enrollment request today that if the sophomore student does choose to enroll, we'll be right back up to 64 students. We got 2 additional freshman students enrolled, and we start class. I'm not sure whether or not you're aware, the semester is going to close at the end of this week. And so it makes sense for the students to wait to start until intensives, or perhaps after that, depending on whether or not they want the transition to be more or less jarring. And I say that and they smile. Sometimes it would be jarring. That is, as far as I know, it on enrollment. Community connection.
Can I ask, I'm curious,
Yes, please.
can you break that down for me, like seniors, juniors, sophomores?
Yes, I would love that. I would love to answer that question. Okay, so we have 11 freshmen, we have 14 sophomores, 15 with the additional request they came through. 20 juniors and 18 seniors. Our caps for each class are usually 16 per class, but last year we didn't meet enrollment caps for the lower classmen grades, and so the board approved a policy where we could accept students off the waiting lists for upper class if we were struggling to meet enrollment. So that's why those 2 upper classes have more than 16 students. Can I answer your question? Perfect, great.
Thank you.
Yes, of course. Community connections. I don't know, we just had break, we just came back from break. Oh wait, no, there's this one. This counts as a community connection, no?
New business.
New business,
Yeah.
okay, but also.
But it is a community.
It is, we have one. Hopefully you're anticipating that, not right now, though.
Not right, we're gonna keep waiting.
We're gonna keep waiting. Yes. Okay, that's it for me then. Right?
Moving on to.
Yes, happy New Year.
Student report.
So we did just get done with breaks, so but we do have, like what we did before the break, and then what we're going to do after. Well, now.
Yeah, so, before the break, we did White Elephant and a showcase, which was really awesome, really fun. Both me and Lucy participated. And then, as Sharon said, this is the last week of the semester. And after the last week, we got 2 weeks of winter intensives, which is super exciting. We got playwriting, automotive, creative expression, and fabric arts. We have cooking, and then study hall. And then after those 2 weeks, we also have the whirlwind.
We're after the first week, so we do that, we do all of those for 1 week, and then pretty much everyone participates in Whirlwind, but some people will stay in the other intensives.
Oh, yeah. And
But
then
Whirlwind is super fun and it's exciting.
I'm very excited for it. And then also as the semester closed, we all did like a little Google review for like the classes that we took.
Yeah.
And that was really nice too.
Course values. Yeah, there's not really much, but if you guys don't know what Whirlwind is kind of like putting on a play in 1 week. So have like, there's an intensive for playwriting, so Drake is gonna be playwriting, so he's gonna write a play.
I'm very excited.
And then the idea is that he hands off the play or he directs it himself, and then we have a bunch of actors and a bunch of set crew, and we all put on a bunch of little plays in 3 days. And so it's really fun.
Yeah, something a little small I wanted to like, the community connections is I was out a whole lot like doing stuff around town. I talked to a couple people about our school and they seemed very interested and they really liked it, the idea of it at least. I mean, I like it.
You were networking?
Yeah, there we go.
Woo!
No drink.
And that's pretty much all we have.
Moving on.
Staff report.
I don't know if we have much to report. There were some repairs. I guess that's also facilities, but yeah, break just happened. I went to the coast. Casey and Ryan went somewhere.
That. And we left
I wasn't
there.
gonna just.
Results there.
Did you do anything for breaks there? No, great. Melissa was here a lot. But, yeah,
Everybody's sick.
everybody's sick. Oh, I actually was sick before break, so luckily now I'm not. But I don't know if there's much else to report for now. Until next time.
Woo! Fundraising committee report.
And I think actually with that raise here, we could.
Skip it.
Yep.
And thank you.
Oh! Try to skip something financial.
Staff report. I would like the board to be made aware that next semester I will be concluding my master's program, which gives me a math credential. The final part is student teaching. And so next semester I will be considered a student teacher. And Sarah has agreed to be my master teacher.
Mentor.
Oh, sorry. My mentor teacher. And so it shouldn't really be any changes, but I am officially a college student doing some work, but I don't see any real changes to my work. I trust that I can continue doing what I can do.
So Ryan, are you doing your student teaching here?
Yes, that's right.
I have something I could chime into about fundraising for the KCA scholarship through the Redwood Foundation. I talked a month ago about how we were investment account, and we weren't quite sure how we would take money in there for KCA scholarships this year. But we found out that we do have some extra money that was allocated to Project Plus, and Project Plus has agreed that it can take maybe maybe up to $2,000 of what we have paid to them for their contracted services and put that into the scholarship. And so that was to be able to award two $250 scholarships to seniors graduating this year and have more in the account to invest in the time.
Yay!
And then actually, I guess I could ask you, Shannon, do you have any idea what was raised from the pictures at the barter fair? Because I know that Gracie has the wreaths, but I know that we had talked about those pictures were gonna go to that same Redwood Foundation.
I handed the envelope to Melissa, but I believe by the end of it, it's about $85
Okay.
raised just for the pictures.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know the number exactly, but she has a little note that I wrote on.
I have one more snap update.
Yay.
I started laughing, it had nothing to do with your update. I started laughing when I was like, the contract.
Go.
Contract for We are so just returning from holiday. On the 12th of December, the teacher leaders met with the 4 department heads and the superintendent of Three Rivers to discuss our contract, because our contract expires at the end of June. And we went in there expecting, to justify why we need to exist, and instead, it was extremely positive. They said, what do you want your next contract to look like? And we immediately went into some negotiating. Nothing is set in stone at all, of course, but it is looking so positive that we will qualify for a 5-year contract beginning July 1st.
That was important.
Yeah. Sorry.
We're good?
Yes.
Okay.
Hey.
Fundraising, no, I'm just kidding, in business.
Oh, this is not.
New business.
Wait.
New business.
There's
Exciting.
Yeah, alright. I'm gonna grab, you guys wanna start? I'm gonna start off on Shark. I don't know. I'm 6, my brain is flat words. Okay, I'm leading it off, then we're gonna go to Forrest and Shannon. Okay. So this is a crazy idea. Exactly. So last summer, Dan and Kizo approached me, a couple of other organizations, right? And he came to me and he said, can KCA run IB News? I'm done, I'm burned out. And I know we're live streaming, Dan, so I won't share all the details, but just Dan was very, very upfront. Like, I'm done running this newspaper. And I told him that is completely unrealistic. We are just trying to run a school. Schools can't run newspapers. This doesn't make any sense. But then he kept coming back. And he kept coming back and kept coming back. And we would have just these casual conversations. Brian would have, you talk to Brian, you talk to me, you talk to a couple of us. And I couldn't help but notice, I'm like, this is starting to remind me of another crazy idea to start a freaking school. I was like, oh my gosh. And so we kind of like let it, and we were just like, this doesn't make sense to like run the town newspaper. However, let's just kind of just have that energy for me to speak for a second, like have that energy out there, be like, what's gonna come? And things have kind of started to like come our way in interesting, magical ways. So, we definitely didn't want to bring anything into the board until it went through, because we want to be like, these ideas are big, right? I want to make it very, very clear the idea of not for KCA to physically run the newspaper, we can't do that, but to facilitate the continuation of our community newspaper and have it be a nonprofit 501c3 community-run newspaper, but to where KCA is helping shepherd it so that it doesn't die, because it's about to die. You know, it went out of print in June. And so one of the biggest dreams is to get it back into print once a month. That's on the template and plans. Sorry, flu brain. So, and we definitely were just so cautious with this idea. We're like trying to keep it quiet because ideas mostly don't work out, right? These big ideas, most of them are supposed to die. And it just sort of fades away, but it kind of keeps coming back. And that's how KCA worked. It just kind of kept coming back. I was like, okay, we should notice this. And then when people start coming, getting attracted to the idea, it's like, okay, we're noticing this. So we're now bringing it to the board because it has gone through quiet talks, few meetings with just Dan, myself, Shannon, then checking with Forrest, then bringing it into all 5 teacher leaders, and then a few more meetings after that, to where now at the point where all 5 teacher leaders and 2 community teachers feel like this could actually work. And Forrest is gonna step in line. I'll give as many specifics as you want, but you also, Forrest has been the secretary of the he's got tons of notes. I'm here trying to sell this vision. But although I will be clear, I'm not necessarily trying to sell it because maybe it is an idea that needs to die. We don't know that. And so where we're at right now is like bringing this grand big idea of where it is so far to this group and seeing if we know to give the space for discussion today. And to see if this is something where we should keep taking the next steps. So the request for today will be to make a decision as to whether to draft an MOU with IB News. An MOU is not a contract, it's a memorandum of understanding. We have one with the Jones School of Spiral Living Center, Illinois Valley State House Alliance, Southern Oregon Guild, West Ranch Nature Center. It's nothing legally binding, it's not making financially liable, it's just saying, hey, we would like to work together. And so to make an MOU with IB News, well, and this is where it gets a little bit tricky. This is where maybe our forces can step in because IB News stand really is trying to be, move past, give IB News away, right? So it would not be with the other person. That if we feel like it's ready for the next stage, the request would be to schedule a special session. Oh no, it's not working right. It's like the teacher's big moment with a whiteboard marker and it dries out. It's just like, okay, so like to schedule, so the question mark, right? Special session to draft an MOU. An MOU. IBU in approximately 2 weeks. So that's going to be the question. We have a lot of notes. I'm going to kind of just pass this to Forrest right now. And for Forrest and Shannon to type in Sarah. And so we have a lot of information. We don't want to end with information, but we want to share what we know to help us as a group or you as a group decide should we keep moving forward with this.
Yeah. Thanks, Casey.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody. To those of you I don't know, hi, nice to meet you. I'm Forrest, and I'm a community teacher here as of last semester. Yeah, so Casey did a really great job of telling you the opportunity and Dan's desire to hand the paper off. And
he was really interested in it being KCA, so he did, approach us for that, and he's interested in paper being a nonprofit, and also being, intimately connected to education. So the partnership with KCA just makes sense in that sense. So basically, the idea is that we would continue doing what he's doing now, which is publish a weekly paper online, digital only, and the paper still has a lot of advertisers as well, and they still buy ads in the digital version. But many of us, say collectively, loving paper, the printed page, and the printed word, like to see it come back in print form, and I'm sure a lot of the community does too. So, I can't say, one of our ideas is to do it monthly, as you said. I'm not sure how soon that could happen, but we think that it's viable to do, and that's part of where we want to head with it.
Could you share a little of your background?
Yes. So yeah, I have a journalism degree. I've worked in newsrooms as a copy editor at the Mail Tribune in Medford, the Daily Courier in Grants Pass. So a combined time of 4 or 5 years. I even worked for Dan for a little bit as well. So moving on down from the bigger markets to the smaller markets, right to where I belong. So yeah, that's kind of both my work experience. So I'm very well versed on the news side of things, and I've got, of course, lots of ideas for stories, and we are planning to do the first digital version of the paper on January 14th, and like I said, we're just kind of continuing what Dan is doing, so nothing too crazy or monumental, although we have things to local reporters, and I'm writing stories, we have other volunteers writing stories as well. Yeah, that's basically, we're at the point where we're trying to figure out how to set up the organization, trying to figure out how it will be structured, and so what we're asking is to find an organization that can get us started up, and with no financial commitment from that organization, because it is a sustainable business paper. I don't think Dan's making very much, but at least it supports itself. And with, the digital version alone is pretty low overhead. Printing costs is large portion of that bill. What else do I have to say? I think that's kind of the highlights. Yes. So we've all had meetings with Dan over the past few weeks, and Shannon and I went to his place for a couple weeks in a row to shadow him while he put the paper together, and learned about his process, and we've been talking to another one of his former employees who has all the information on the advertisers.
So this willing to volunteer her time, I forgot exactly how much, but at least a couple hours a week, and she's even talking about once it comes back into the running, she would be willing to do a full-time position. Right now, everything's just volunteering. Everybody's just volunteering and not making it start again. We have a really good team member.
Yeah, she's great, Stacy. But to what Casey was saying, Dan has agreed to give us, his computers, some office equipment, basically, all those assets. We're gonna new organization will have the archives as well, and Shannon has a place that we can work out of and also
Walking distance from here too.
store those. Yeah. Yes, I don't know what you want to say about that, but yeah. So I guess before I hang on with Shannon, do you have any questions for me? Because Shannon can talk about the space we're working with as far as like producing paper out of, Also interfacing with students as well.
So is the news already a nonprofit of its own entity?
No, it's currently the Ivy News Corporation, you know,
Okay.
I don't know, I guess it's a corporation.
Okay.
It's owned by Dan Mancuso, yes.
Okay.
So, but you know, that's this whole transition is it's part of the process of getting that MOU with the fiscal sponsorship and then that long process of establishing the 501c3 that would run the Ivy News and then, you know, become.
It's not officially defined.
Yes.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of support from the community, so for other local nonprofits we've spoken to have been very supportive if it comes to mentorship or any kind of resource connection they can do for us. So tomorrow we have a meeting with IBCDO to also kind of try to give it a push start.
This seems like a really fun and big idea, but how exactly would this tie into like the schools?
Well, that's a great, I'm so glad you asked that.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's a great question.
Alright.
Step into the spotlight. Marker.
Hey. I might take a marker, I don't know, probably just sit down. Hello, my name is Shannon, to those who don't know me yet, I'm a PhD teacher as of this year. I found my way here actually through the Earth Scouts program, which is part of living. I used to work at KCA kind of for that program, and that's how it kind of came on my radar. And so I've been working with youth and doing youth engagement for a minute now, and so that's kind of where I come in and stuff that I like to do. And so yeah, with the paper, when I first got approached about it, my biggest thing was like getting students to do their homework is hard enough. How are you gonna get them to run a paper? But the more, that's a good one, well, especially when there's deadlines, and so, yeah, but the more I thought about it, the newspaper isn't gonna be ran by the school. It's gonna be ran by the adults that are willing to work with the students, so therefore it's a learning experience. And that is how I would like to utilize it, is make it a, like, a work, what is the keyword, it's a work,
Study.
it's not a work study. Yeah, work experience. Exactly, and so there's all these different grants that are possible because of it, because we can teach children so much by kind of running their own small business. I mean, besides reporting and photography, there's the deadlines, there's web design, there is budgeting, you know, scheduling, deliveries, all of it. There's gonna be so many little key factors to it. And so that is kind of where it started seeming more possible to me, because I was like, oh, I'm not putting all this weight on the students.
Yeah.
And ultimately I'm putting the weight on myself, and that's when I started looking around for other adults. It's like, okay, this requires a lot of adults. And the adults are coming together. There are so many people showing support, and especially once Forrest called me, I was like, we have an adult. Really, like, it's gonna be a lot of work, but we're not pushing this on the school, we're not pushing this on the students, we're pushing it on the people that are gonna take over the newspaper. They just wanna share it with the school.
So students could like go and volunteer and like get work, like we'll just like get work experience and things like that.
Exactly, and they also like, so I took some notes today in class. I was just asking some of my students in graphic design how they felt about it. The first thing I said was writing in your voice. Which, I mean, first of all, a newspaper, you can't be biased, you can't really write in your voice, but that's also a valuable lesson right there.
Yeah.
Of how do you express yourself in your voice in a proper way. So there's already lesson number one, but it's just like, it's giving the students an opportunity to express themselves to the community. If it's through art, a lot of people are also saying featuring their artwork. They would really like it if they could do a little comic strip or, you know, the puzzles or something. Like, there's all these little ways that also advertising. A lot of people that just like put an ad in the paper, they don't have a picture, they just say, here's my name, here's my number. So just creating little things like that, and eventually it could turn into paid positions, because I mean, for example, the Project Youth Plus, the library, there's all these other businesses around here. It could be one of those businesses that a student would get paid to come. And so here's the reveal from the location. I just moved into next door to Journey Home. The beside is being turned into a community press and print shop.
Would you like to give your background?
Oh yeah, I'm a printer. I'm a graphic design now teacher, but I've done graphic design and printing and a small business for a long time before I started working here, and so I shut down my print shop, and then, I don't know, actually the news is what got people to be like, well, why don't you open it back up in Cave Junction? Think about that, but then the space became available, and I also work at Dream Home. So yeah, it's gonna be kind of like an all in-house, because I mean, Michael's there with the support services, and we've been thinking about how we can get the students more involved in Journey Home, but it is a resource center, it's a little bit more oriented, but having the print shop next door would be in the same building, a separate room that the students can actually come over there and hang out and help with putting together his newspaper and other art-related projects, because I'm more just the printer. I'm the artist, I'm the printer, I do wanna work with the students, but really Forrest is the mastermind when it comes to newspaper. So I wanna help with putting the pieces together, that's what I'm good at. Yeah. Anybody have any questions for me?
What kind of printing?
So far, I mostly use like graphic stuff, poster printing, large format printing, but because of Michael, we're gonna bring in some what do you call it? Lino cutting and wood pressing. I do have some screen printing stuff, like we are gonna up it to other printing abilities too, not just digital. So, but yeah, I have this like 6-foot printer that prints stickers and stuff, and it's gonna be fun. Yeah, I'm excited. Yeah, and I don't know, I just have a bunch of words scribbled down of how we would, help the students, like, and it came from them, because I asked them what they feel they would get out of it. And so, money jobs was one of the big ones.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, you'll pay us to do this, but another thing, they even said it themselves, resumes. They're like, that will look really good on my resume if I say I volunteered or worked at this, shop, doing this newspaper. And then, yeah, another student said budgeting. Just like learning how to we can trim some fat here and we can do that. Like they don't really get to do that live in action, but they get to they get to see it. They get to see the product. So. And then also, yeah, getting support from the community. That's another reason why it's a good idea for the youth to take over the newspaper, because people will want a newspaper that their children were a part of making, just for the fact that they were a part of making. And sponsors, we can probably find a lot of sponsors that be like, hey, this is a really good thing. Because it's self-sustaining, we don't ask the school for money, but we will generate money that can go into the school. And so people will wanna see this, they want to see this work out for everybody. Yeah, alright.
Yeah,
I have a question for you, or for anyone else. So, through the grapevine, I heard that Siskiyou Film Institute was gonna be part of the audience. I heard that they were gonna take it.
See, that's the thing, the grapevine, the grapevine actually approached me too, it was funny, they walked into, remember that, they walked into the room, they're like, is this the people from Siskiyou? It's like, no, KCA, they got their wilderness. That's all it was. There wasn't actually, there was no, because yeah, we did have a first walk in, you're like, Siskiyou, call me off the same thing. So, I didn't hear that they were approached as well, but I did meet the person that said Siskiyou, and I looked at that, I was like, yeah, right here, wrong wilderness. But, yeah, that's a funny, great fun.
I've heard that like 5 times.
Really?
Yeah.
Sweet,
And
threw
I
him off the
was
track.
very little.
Yeah, we threw him off, well, because that was another thing, this has been brewing, since I started here, since the summer, this has been slowly brewing, and it's been really hard to keep it quiet, and at the same time find support, and you're like, no, you didn't really hear that unless you're helping, and yeah, so. It's very exciting to see how much engagement we already got, to actually tell people now and see how much more we're doing.
And so, just to go back, just to kind of maybe clarify it all. So you're saying that, I want to say in a way, this organization here would adopt the IV news, right? You wouldn't change the name, you wouldn't, I'm just going forward with that and then just being associative.
Continuation of a tradition.
Yeah, and then, like KCA wouldn't necessarily be, they might be a lead or just a participant?
Yeah, I think I can answer that question and also better, more answer the question about student involvement too.
Yeah.
Division is a continuum as the Ivy News, as a newspaper, as, providing the most recent news to the community, journalistic tradition, so yeah, it is simply a continuation of that, but, in addition, me speaking from the editorial side, I wanna be able to feature some students writing, with particularly, I think, a focus on the news writing, the actual reporting, the enterprise journalism that can take months to develop, to crank out a story, maybe with a whole team of students working on it. And that distinguishes it from something like the Tacoma Common Ground or other periodicals that like news magazines that might have more even creative writing. Or, not saying there's no place for a little bit of art or poetry or whatever in paper, but still for it to be predominantly the newspaper, fulfilling the role that it does.
Follow through with what's going on in the that's the basis.
Yeah, and part of the process of being a community newspaper and having a new ownership is that we will solicit ideas from the community for how best the newspaper can serve them. And then
I just love the idea of having a newspaper having a board rather than one sole person. I like that a lot already, just so the community can chime in more and become more experiences. So and that's another thing too, is like, yeah, we could just take over the news, but I don't really want to do it as a person. I want to do it as a community, and so therefore doing it as a school is. So.
Now, is there any reimbursement statement?
Yes, Dan has asked.
Yeah, no, that's a good question.
Dan has asked us to pay, $10,000 for, and all months that he's very flexible on time. This would all come, of course, from the revenue from the newspaper as part of his monthly bills. Dan was just to remain on as advisor on paper, to the editorial quality of the paper.
Without extra pay?
No, that's his
payout. Yeah. He really just wants to be hands off, but at the same time, he's put so many years and so much time and equipment and all this into it, that it's very kind of him to just be like, just slowly pay this as he can.
You would have opinions, knowing Dan.
You wouldn't be right.
You wouldn't.
Yeah.
No,
You would be, he could be you would edit.
he is asked to be a code advisor.
Just so you
What specifically that means, I believe it means having some sort of editorial review privileges.
That's really I have understandably, very, very, yes, and very determined that the newspaper remains as bipartisan, neutral, community oriented as possible, because he knows KCA would for an artist school to attract a lot of more, left leaning funds. He wants to make sure that it doesn't only represent one part of the community, which is wonderful. That's our intention. We want everybody to feel equally represented. So yes, we want to make sure that the journalistic standards are still high and still as objective as possible.
He would be extremely valuable because he knows the cans and cannots, what would be liable for getting this up to trouble.
And that's why we've been working with him lately. It's also really hard to start putting a lot of written, like writing things down and starting this whole thing when we don't know yet if this is approved. So that's been another thing. We've been working on this, putting a lot of effort in, but at the same time, we're kind of waiting for the go ahead before we really start doing. But those are all things that will definitely have to be put down in writing But he, from what he's saying now is, yeah, he just wants to be an advisor, he wants to be there to kind of oversee it at first, but hands off if possible. And then, yeah, we also have Stacy Burns, who worked with them for many, many years. And I just coincidentally started chatting with her, and she was like, oh yeah, like if it's for good reason, like, I'll step back in. Yeah.
How long did she work with him? It was a while. She's got a lot of the business side of everything. That's I think a great one the other day.
What would be like some of the first steps that we have to take on this? Other than that, MOU?
Right now, we're just trying to kind of keep it running without anybody really noticing, because for the winter, they're ready to take a break. So we were able to graciously have these few weeks off without the newspaper really seeming like it stopped. But our next edition will come out on the 14th. January 14th will be our next online edition. And so, yeah, we pretty much have to start sourcing stories now and, just have something to publish.
There's really nothing that the school would have to get the paper out.
Yeah, there's a lot of work that we have to do, but then, yeah, we try to get it into the nonprofit status, get all the paperwork written up, and then, Sarah has something cooking too.
Just how, I think that as an English teacher, I could support from the student end the involvement, I guess, between KCA and the IB News. Because last year I got really excited about teaching journalism when I was at IB, and I did this PD program called Journalistic Learning Initiative, and it was through that's a nonprofit organization that's affiliated with the University of Oregon. So I did this PDU course with them, and I taught journalism at IBHS for a semester as part of English 4. And the students were really excited about it. We went through this whole process where they learned the skills, like the foundational skills that go into research and reporting, and how to like interview different people to get perspectives and angles on a story, and then how to like compose this whole journalistic piece. And by the end, each group of students was able to produce a story. Like, for example, we got Laura Mancuso into the classroom, and they interviewed her about the development of Ivy Village, and then they wrote up an article, and we designed a website, and they put all of their articles on the website. And then I got back in with that PD program this year on like an alumni basis, and they're doing like these monthly check-ins, and so I can like continue learning about how to teach journalism and improving my practice. And I'm going to teach a journalism class for English credit here next semester, regardless of whether or not this works out, just because I enjoyed doing it so much last year. But if journalism class were to be able to like articulate with this program at the IB News, that could be a way for students who are interested in participating, that maybe don't have the skills or the knowledge of like how sure they are they want to go in for a volunteer experience. They could do the journalism class, and then like on a volunteer basis, not for pay, but just for their grade, they could be submitting articles to the IB News if they're in the class. And then if they do well with that, that could be a good way for them to kind of try out, and then maybe go for an internship or WEX at IB News if they enjoyed the class. So that's kind of how I would be involved in this.
Which I think is awesome, because one of the students straight up asked me, they were like, I want to do this, but I don't know how. I was like, well, how about we teach you, and then you know how, so.
And you could, so just, I guess, how, I think this sounds awesome, this sounds really cool. Just confused about how, I guess maybe I'm not fully understanding what an MOU is, and really like, when you mentioned about the paper having a board, are you talking about a separate board, or it's board?
No, it'll be a separate.
Okay,
Yeah. It'll be a separate board, and I mean, some KCA, not board members, but for example, the two of us would be part of the board.
Yeah.
So we could come report every so often to your board meetings where one of us shows up. You know,
Or it's
tell you
just,
how it's
we're
going.
just have like a.
Yeah, it wouldn't be all.
Affiliation.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, and sorry, I brought, I have a binder with the current names, printing out as possible, so I'll.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I'd love to
See
look at
what the template looks like, yes, thank you.
Like bring that over.
Yeah, sure.
Is it the white one?
Yeah, from my understanding, it's just a written agreement, so later nobody can be like, well, I thought it was gonna go that way. It's like, well, we have it in writing that we mutually agreed that's how it's gonna go. So for example, with slow payout, that's something that was mentioned of like,
But that's not really associated with PCA. So it's,
no, that is gonna be completely self-sustained. paper.
And remind me that again, what do you need from this board?
It would kind of help jumpstart it with getting the nonprofit status.
Sponsorship?
It's more of an endorsement, I would say, rather than a. It's like, we can apply for grants that would be specifically for that.
We acted as an umbrella. We can use our 501(c)(3) status, like for them to start writing grants. And also meeting with IBCDO tomorrow to see perhaps it might work out better if IBCDO take that one, we're not quite sure.
It could take, how long did it take for KCA just to get their nonprofit status?
Year and a half.
So it could take, the new newspaper corporation, a year and a half to get that. Over that period of time, wouldn't be able to be eligible for grants or practicing status.
And I mean, just like KCJ, you know, they separated from Star Living after a while, we could do that as well. Like once we have our own status, yeah, we can separate. So it would just be a kickstart, it would be an endorsement, just to speed up the process as a nonprofit. And also kind of, you know, the bragging rights of like, you know, because like, yeah, IBCDO can sponsor us, but then it's kind of not necessarily their say, but it's just so much cooler.
And are you asking for a vote? I'm not, I don't know, but I'm just clarifying. Okay. You're asking for a vote today on whether or not to move forward with the partnership? Okay, great. Good.
Yeah.
And I should say that Dan has been on vacation for so he'll be back on January 8th, so.
Can we start an email thread for any questions from the board that might pop up?
Yeah.
Between now and
And then we did spring this on you, you didn't really have time to think about it.
I'll also throw out there that even if it's not required or asked, the board is able to adopt a statement to, you know, someone could make a proposal to say, we think this is a great idea, we would like to support it, we would figure out how, that maybe a meeting with an MOU, but it's certainly something that, you know, the board could say, we're supportive of this endeavor, we'd love to see the community newspaper continue, we'd love to see KCA as part of that.
Yes, perhaps we could, in the presentation part of this part of the meeting, have more of a discussion on board members and what they think.
It sounds like all of us are really on board. I think we should wait until like May Chris goes back to like in this session.
Oh, you're missing the president?
Yeah, I would like to have Grace's involvement, but I also do think that this is a really neat idea, and I do think that it's worth, you know, scheduling a special session. And probably at the end of that, we end up being able to draft something, but at least giving us all some time maybe to sit with this and come back and have some ideas and questions and be able to like really help figure out what that MOU might look like.
So pretty much our question is, so as of right now, we're just gonna continue doing as if, because that's been the burning thing for us, is being like, okay, we're just gonna keep moving forward as if it's gonna come together. Yeah, okay, we're just gonna keep doing that.
Well, yeah.
In the quiet.
I think, speaking of the grapevine, we don't wanna act as if KCA is already owning the paper or whatever people think is going on. We don't even want to talk about KCA's involvement really. As far as, if anyone asks, we're running the paper. So yeah.
Because people are starting to ask questions.
Have you,
Yeah, it's me and Shannon.
So the
Okay,
new,
cool.
the new
Unincorporated, actually.
is,
Sorry about that.
So, but if it does move forward in KCA and IBS have some kind of partnership, it's gonna be like front page, KCA 6.
That would be the first front page.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that would be what other.
I was joking.
That
Well, the high school is saying.
I'm thinking try to press release for like
Maybe these two were send them the West Coast off to Portland.
You guys could write
And that's why it's so hard of like, all right, as of right now, we're moving forward as is because we're already thinking about the next articles, and that would be a article. Because I mean, Dan wrote in the last newspaper that he's saying goodbye, he didn't leave a description on how or why.
Well, he
because
left
I-
enough of a description that people started asking.
Exactly, yeah, so we do have to come back to some sort of next page.
I would personally love to see, I've been here in the valley over 50 years and seeing IB News where I saw it 50 years ago,
Yeah.
you know, and that whole history, you too, probably, you know, was a quarter. It used to be for a quarter.
Are you volunteering to be on the committee?
Maybe not,
But.
but
I'm real, we've got this knowledge that I. So those of us living around this long don't have that knowledge, it'd be great to get your insight into what's.
well, it'll be really interesting to see what Dan has. I could probably find many other better unique characters, but just what does he have in his archives? You know, the years.
He literally, we went to the Canadian's house and in his entryway are just the archives, just stacked up, waiting for a new call.
Which will
Like
also
they
be
just live
our
in
office.
just sitting in the entryway.
Like in
85 years.
or like?
Stacks of papers.
No, bound,
Wow. It is living history.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
It's amazing. Yeah.
what do you think?
I mean, actually, part of the news, what we're gonna do is today in history, so that's gonna be another thing for the students of like research. And come over, look through the old archives, take something today in history.
They can write about the proposed nickel mine.
Actually.
I know, it's nice. So,
I'm not writing about that yet.
Were you, were your dad, you know, your dad was a lot.
Yes,
Yeah. Just saying.
yes. No, there's, I mean. Thanks. I have I have all kinds of ideas about stories, I've already got a, editorial calendar and all that, so, yeah, that's.
Spreadsheets.
And they're kind of on fire.
I know, it's amazing.
Awesome.
I mean, I'm like,
Yeah, that was another thing where we knew that like teacher leaders can't take on anything else.
I
So
know.
it's gotta be someone else's baby, who is that person, and then voila, and then voila, and we're literally like within 2 weeks, used to show up, it's like. So. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got one on board too.
yeah, Gwen's cool.
Yes.
That's great. I mean, absolutely.
It is exciting. Really.
And I mean, I totally understand your hesitation because that's the same way I reacted. I was like, that was really cool. I'm not gonna say anything. And I just kept doing that. I was like, I'm not gonna say something. Because like, you wanna say yes, I'm excited. It just sounds so cool that, but it's, more and more the more I started looking around, asking around, there was support and there was way. And even by completely trying to ignore it, it kept following me. And so, at a certain point, it's like, it does feel like it's a lot easier than I pictured it to be. Yeah.
If you're homegrown kids, you're a homegrown
Yep.
kid. So that's exciting.
Yeah,
I'm the divorce.
it does feel like a constant lifetime. A dream come true.
It's like the kind of thing they used to write, inspirational movies.
Yeah. Now we've seen the big newspaper for us to compete against, some of the underdogs.
Yeah.
Yeah, eventually the dream is to get the press and put it back into print. That is like further down the road, but that's what I like to do. I like having print shops. So at first we will probably outsource to get the print going again, but so I started looking into grants already. It's a lot easier to get equipment than it is to get paychecks. And so since the newspaper can self-maintain, we can ask for equipment.
Yeah.
And press would be another layer of teaching something really cool that's a forgotten art. I would be the one housing it, so you don't have to worry about location or maintenance or anything like that. I'd be willing to do that. And that's another thing, it's cool, we don't have to squeeze the newspaper into this building. Like, it can be in another building, because there's enough squeezed in here already. So it would, yeah, the location already exists too.
So currently, we're requesting a special session to draft, hopefully to draft, right? That special session may result in us going, maybe this isn't a good idea, right? I mean, potentially. And so there's not a motion required at this point. This is just us saying, sure, let's have a special session. I would
Motion to have a session.
I would say, sure, let's have a special session, because I do think it's a really neat idea. I'm looking at our 2 student reps being really excited about it.
Photography too.
I'm sure it's that.
That was my
For students.
I mean, I think that there's a lot of multifaceted ways in which it could be a really cool partnership for our school. So I personally would attend a special session. And are you guys trying to have that before Dan comes back, before the print goes out? Would you guys like to just have the time to like just keep running because you have 9 days to get the online paper printed, and then we should have the special session after that? Or what is your guys' vision for how soon would you like us to talk further about it?
I feel like I would like it as soon as possible,
Okay,
but that's just me. I think the 2 weeks is just sort of it's a ballpark courtesy to everyone to hold over. I'll have to do it next week, but.
Well, because like I was saying, I would like it if the first news would be,
sure.
like, you know, that also would immediately get momentum because you share that. I mean, right now it's just online, but you put that on social media, and then I mean it's gonna spread like wildfire.
Sure.
And then we're gonna get the actual support that we really need of, yeah, like sponsors are gonna step up, and that's when we can start, you know, asking for grants and things like that. So I wanna get the news out first to get the attention, so.
That's a lot, that's in 8 days, so,
Yeah.
or 5 days, that's, right?
And that would be the 14th.
Oh,
the 14th is
so-
when we release, which I mean, we can write the article in place, we don't have to release it if it doesn't happen.
Right.
Yeah,
But-
if it happened on the 13th, we definitely.
We can, yeah, we have it already written, we just post it.
Yeah.
And
This do back in.
Yeah, we have a couple of weeks in our case.
Yeah, you know, it's not like it's change.
Yeah, that's okay.
So we can do it.
Iron Sally, what?
Yeah, just continuing to publish it.
Yeah. Ghostwriters.
Yeah, we can.
Information I heard from people that it was no longer gonna be position. I heard it was.
That's how it was supposed to be. If we were gonna take on this, it was just gonna go quiet. So, and that's why we said to them, we're like, we're just gonna keep it alive digitally long enough, because there's also like you have to meet these certain statuses of publishing so often before you lose your status as a newspaper. And so, yeah, we just don't want it to go under too far that we can't come from it.
Yeah, we print monthly, paper effective.
Yeah.
And then if any of these skips, we thought like Shop Smart's been paying, what, is it 400 weekly?
Both the race stores pay
Okay,
for them,
yeah,
sell money.
and so if we cut that rhythm, they could pull their own downwards of that, so we wanna, yeah, and so to keep going, even if it's at a bare minimum, until things can really get up again, to keep those advertisers.
Yeah, and one of our ideas for the print version was to publish a print version every month, the first Wednesday of every month. So you have 3 digital versions, and then you have a print version that's also available online. And the monthly print version would have compile all the local reporting from that whole previous month into that paper. So it'd be a fat paper with
Recap, pretty much.
all kinds of local stuff, and maybe have some updates on stories. If 3 weeks old, freshen up a little bit, but
And it's not going to be, can't be a broadsheet anymore, right?
it can be. I mean, that's not set in stone. I mean, my idea is to make it tabloid. I think tabloids are better, but you know, that's the trick.
Bigfoot sighting column.
I was wondering if they were gonna take part of this.
Oh.
Oh, I thought you were talking about their speed. I was talking
Yeah, like splash site.
Yeah. No, you were talking about this.
Great.
almost like a all weekly, you know, all monthly.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, the press that Shannon's talking about, it's big. It'll probably take a half, even like the kind of the smallest one you could get that could produce thousands of papers at a reasonable time frame. Is half the size of this room.
But luckily it's going out of style, so they're getting cheaper and cheaper.
But
Nostalgia.
Sarah, we talked to Duke for Carol about taking students on a field trip and see that press. It's a sight to behold.
That would be a great idea. Tell us another thing, I heard somebody in Brett's house.
I think Dan approached the Courier potentially about the future of the paper.
They used to live here. Yeah.
But nothing about this credit.
Too bad there isn't news telling you what's really happening.
Right.
I would like, I'm like I said, I'm in favor of a special session. I think Grace is due back in town any day now. And so maybe we could start, an email chain to set a date and time. So that we can coordinate with Grace and make sure she's there as well.
And then have somebody make a statement. Of the meeting.
Well, I think that that's what we'll do with the meeting.
Yeah, well, I was thinking to put it out for online, for the board people.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Are you talking about getting into the paper on the 14th?
No, I'm talking
Maybe it's
about
a
a
statement.
special session
Yes.
or
Kind of
something,
putting-
like a proposal.
Kind of putting together like just the sort of this section of minutes. So that we all can like look at that ahead of time of the special session meeting, or
And then have a special session meeting, you can come and reread that if you're, or if there needs to be changes.
Yeah, and then we can talk about it.
And then it's easier to go.
Do you mean like drafting and when we do Sally for the special sessions?
That's exactly what I'm trying to say.
Having something to work on so it's not coming back together with the same knowledge that has to happen, rather like having it when you draft it so that people can look it over and say, I like this, I don't like this, let's change this and that,
Right.
rather than having to make it from scratch.
And then come back, yeah.
Do we already have the news contact? We're gonna have to follow. So it's on.
I wrote one.
Okay, there's very loose outlines.
Thanks, Sarah.
okay.
Okay.
So with that template and the rough stuff that you guys have, you could send us out, or you could even just send it to me and then I can get it out to the board and the secretary.
We should have a special session before the special session. Okay. Tomorrow we're also gonna meet with Lindsay, which is going to be extremely helpful because she's going to explain to us how to run profitable business and a nonprofit at the same time without crossing lines. So that's what the meeting is about tomorrow, is just to see what we can and cannot get away with, apply for, what, because also right now we have the question if we're gonna be a 501c3 or 501c6. We're all leaning towards 3, but so we're gonna figure that out tomorrow, we'll know more tomorrow too. Maybe she can even help us write one up.
And so if we
She
were
can probably help us
to,
write
if we were to tentatively schedule a special session for next Monday. Right, so that we could potentially get that in before the.
We have a staff meeting next Monday on the 45th.
Okay.
The training for state grants.
Tuesday.
We have a budget meeting on Thursday.
I'm not opposed to Tuesday, the 13th. So let's.
At a board, at a middle school.
Yeah.
Yeah, middle school meeting is,
What's
the board meeting is at 6.
Okay.
So what about Friday the 9th?
Some of this Friday.
I don't know, I'm just throwing that, oh yeah, you guys don't have school.
Yeah.
It's grading day, it's grading day. It's the end of our semester.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
right. Oh, that's all right.
Yeah, we're gonna be.
Even
I know. You know what that's like.
even though I do think,
Oh, no.
even though I do want it to be as soon as possible, I don't think it's vitally important that we get it done before that first issue drops on the 14th. I think we could just quietly release a new paper, not having a statement, that's.
You guys can announce this law or anything like that.
Yeah.
For the community.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I certainly think we can do that.
Right.
But I also think there's, even though perhaps it will generate, people will have all kinds of questions for that first week. I don't see any reason why we can't just publish a paper quietly.
Yeah.
Well, you'll see who's paying attention.
I guess so, yeah.
You know.
And the learning curve to just get out that paper, is gonna take a lot of extra energy.
Yeah.
So,
But yeah, it would be great if it were sooner rather than later.
I mean, if the 13th works for everybody, I can skip.
Well, we could potentially, I mean, if you guys had something drafted for us that we could look at, so that we could keep the meeting short too.
Or also another thing, I don't have to be here, if we work on
That's
it
really
together.
true too. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, that's.
Yeah, we represent both of us.
Yeah.
Shannon, did you say the meeting was at 6?
Yeah.
I mean, if we start at like 3:30 or 4,
Yeah.
and then if it goes long, you could leave.
Yeah, that would work, okay, so that would be, what was that, Monday?
Tuesday,
So
Thursday.
that's actually perfect, because I don't work on Tuesdays, yeah, perfect.
And what did you say, what time?
4?
Yeah, let's do 4, just so that we're not getting here during the end of day chaos.
I like that.
Say we got here 4:30 today, it's okay. Thanks a lot for the chaos.
Yeah, check back in.
And when do you?
really cautious.
I don't know. Sharon, do you know where our worker is going? Okay, let's just.
Soon.
Soon, yeah. When we come up when we.
Just one.
Yeah. Do you say you do a digital version?
We adjourn the meeting.
Okay, I was gonna say, just send me the digital version, well, Brendan and I.
I have a motion to
I don't have to
adjourn.
stress.
You don't even have to
Facilitating, you can just.
I adjourn the meeting.
You're.
You're.
You're. You're.